Welcome back to Innovation Thursday, where we're covering Self-Funded 101. This is our video 3 in a series called Self-Funded 101. We're just going over some basics of self-funding, hopefully give you a little bit of knowledge to kind of understand some of the topics associated with that. So, talk about stop loss this week. Stop loss is you're purchasing stop loss insurance inside of your health plan to limit your exposure. So you will pay up to a certain amount, and then stop loss insurance kicks in above that. So that's what limits your liability, and you can budget for those expenses underneath those amounts. So that's the purpose of stop loss. Last week, as we covered kind of simple terms, we'll do a quick recap. There's a couple types of stop loss contracts. One is called the specific stop loss. That's the deductible on any one member on your health plan, depending on the size of your plan, would depend on that deductible. Obviously, the larger the plan, the more employees, the potentially larger that would be. So, as an example, you may have a specific deductible of $50,000 or $75,000, where the employer is paying everything under that amount for that each member. Anything above that amount would be paid by a stop loss carrier. So that's important, especially in today's world where there's a lot of high cost claims can happen, especially medications get involved in that. So that's important to know that deductible level as a specific. So aggregate is the total maximum exposure for the entire plan across everybody covered, all the belly buttons on the plan, we like to say. That's the aggregate amount. So anything up to that amount, you would pay, the employer would pay. Anything above that amount, the stop loss carrier would pay. And again, that's across the whole plan. So everything added together, which is important because if you have multiple high claimants throughout the year, that could add up very quickly for you. So that's the difference between specific and aggregate. And we talked a little bit last week about the attachment point. That would be the point at which the stop loss carrier kicks in. Typically, that's about 125% of your expected claims, but that's your attachment point, so that would be your max exposure, another way of saying that. So just as a recap, that's what stop loss is. And I'm going to briefly explain this concept of the different types of stop loss contracts. This is probably the most confusing thing that you'll get into a stop loss. So I'm going to just briefly hit it, and I'll preface this by saying, my goal with this video is just to give you a little basic knowledge so you'll be able to ask the right questions of your consultant or your advisor, whoever you're dealing with. Again, there's lots of variables that come in that will dictate what type of contract you need, depending on if you're coming from fully insured or you're changing health plans, you're going from one self-funded plan to another carrier, whatever the case may be out there. So a couple of contract types, and you can set up different types of incurred and paid contracts. So as an example, 1218 is a pretty common stop loss contract for medium-sized companies out there. So that is incurred. So what that means is claims that have incurred in the first 12 months of the plan. So if say your plan year runs January through December, then all the claims incurred from January to December in that 12-month period are covered by that contract as long as they're paid within 18 months out there. So you get the claims actually occurred, the date of services is within the 12-month window of your plan, right? Then there's a 6-month run out, meaning that TPA is processing claims that should be covered under that stop loss contract up to 6 additional months out there. So you got 6 months of run out under that particular contract. Why that's important is your plan years, will start again let's say your plan year run January to December, where it's going to start over again every January, right? So if you have members out there having claims in December, late November, December, even up to the December 31st, those claims are not paid by the end of the month. They're not paid by December 31st. So there's some administrative time frame out there, and claims have to be processed, reviewed, and so forth. So you want to make sure you have some run out to make sure those claims get paid in a timely manner. Obviously, there's lots that go into that. There's different types. It could be a 1215, give you 3 months of run out, depending on your network and your TP, how quickly they're processing claims out there will determine how much run out you need. So that is run out. That contract protects you against run out to make sure those claims incurred get paid in a timely manner, and everybody agrees upon that contract. Okay. You could have a run-in contract if needed out there, which means maybe you want to cover the claims from the 3 months back. So maybe that could be a 15-12 contract, and that would be a run-in contract, meaning they're going to go back and pick up any claims in the prior 3 months that occurred and still pay them under the new contract. That would be a run-in situation. Obviously, your individual situation of the organization would dictate what you need is from a run out or run in, and that's what we just advise you to get with a good advisor, a good consultant that can talk you through that, talk about the pros and cons of all of that. So that is typically probably the most confusing part of a stop loss contract is when you get into, okay, what kind of contract type do I need? And that is incurred and paid. So hopefully this helps kind of clear up some of the questions with that. Us insurance guys are very guilty of throwing out a terminology and we just assume everybody understands that. But hopefully this will give you a little bit of talking points as you're kind of research on your own and so forth. So that's the whole purpose of this video, just to give you information that you can use within your organization. So with that, hope this was helpful. Everybody have a great week.